A mother carried her disabled daughter alone, until one human changed their destiny. The rain never truly stopped on Haven Station. It did not fall from a sky, because there was no sky here, only layers of metal, pipes, and forgotten maintenance shafts stacked above one another like the bones of a dead giant. Still, water found a way. It dripped from cracked ceilings, slid down rusted walls, and pooled along the cold floor where no one cared enough to fix it. This was the lower ring, the place most species avoided. Mara walked through it slowly, her steps careful and practiced. Every movement mattered when she carried her daughter. Her arms were strong, hardened by years of labor and lifting, but the ache never fully went away. She had learned to live with pain the same way she had learned to live with hunger and exhaustion. In her arms lay Lyra. The girl was light, too light for her age, her body thin and fragile. Her legs were twisted in a way no machine or medicine on Haven Station had ever bothered to understand. They hung uselessly, wrapped in a worn blanket, but Lyra's eyes were alive. They were sharp, curious, and filled with questions about a galaxy that refused to make space for her. Mara adjusted her grip, pulling Lyra closer to her chest as a cold draft passed through the corridor. "Are you tired, Mama?" Lyra asked softly. Mara shook her head. "No. I'm fine." It was a lie, but a gentle one. Lyra smiled anyway. She always knew when her mother lied, but she pretended not to notice. It made Mara feel stronger. They passed broken lights and empty stalls, moving toward Dock 7. That was where the labor board was located. Every morning, workers from dozens of species gathered there, hoping to claim jobs before the list filled. Heavy lifting, waste processing, hull repair, dangerous work, but it paid in credits, and credits meant food. Mara reached the edge of the crowd and stopped. Many of the others pretended not to see her. Some shifted away slightly as if disability was contagious. She stepped forward anyway. The labor board glowed as it scanned her presence. A soft hum filled the air. Then the light turned red. "Physical inefficiency detected," the system announced. "Dependent detected. Application denied." Mara closed her eyes for a brief moment. "I can work," she said, her voice steady. "I always finish my tasks." A coalition overseer turned toward her. He was tall, his body covered in thick gray scales, his uniform spotless. His eyes moved from Mara to Lyra and back again, cold and calculating. "This station does not reward weakness," he said. "You slow productivity." "I don't," Mara replied. "I work longer hours than most." "That is irrelevant," the overseer said. "Move aside." The words hit harder than any physical blow. Still, Mara did not argue. She knew better. Arguing only brought security drones, and drones brought trouble. She turned and walked away. Lyra pressed her face against Mara's shoulder. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "If I could walk." Mara stopped immediately. "Never say that," she said firmly. Her voice shook, but not with anger. "You are not the problem, the station is." Lyra nodded slowly, though doubt still flickered in her eyes. They moved toward the edge of the docking ring, where the lights dimmed and the air smelled of oil and metal. This was scavenger territory. Discarded cargo, broken machines, and forgotten tools ended up here. Sometimes there were usable parts. Sometimes there were traps. Mara knelt carefully, balancing Lyra on her hip as she reached for a cracked power cell. It was damaged, but she knew a trader who might give a few credits for it. A voice cut through the silence. "Careful. That model still holds a charge." Mara reacted instantly. She pulled Lyra closer and turned sharply. The speaker stood a few steps away. He was human. That alone was surprising. Humans were not common on Haven Station, and they rarely came to the lower rings. This one looked different from the workers and drifters Mara usually saw. His clothes were clean, his boots well-made. His posture was straight, confident, like someone who had trained their body to respond without hesitation. He raised his hand slightly, showing he meant no harm. "I'm not here to take anything," he said calmly. Mara studied him. Years of surviving had taught her to be careful. I know what I'm doing, she replied. I'm sure you do, the man said. He knelt down slowly, bringing himself closer to her level. You carry her everywhere. Yes, Mara said. There's no choice. The man's gaze shifted to Lyra, but there was no pity in it, only curiosity and respect. Lyra tilted her head. You're not from here, she said. He smiled faintly. No, just passing through. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small device. It looked like a scanner, but far more advanced than anything Mara had ever seen. The surface was smooth, marked with Terran symbols. Mara stiffened. What is that? A medical scanner, he said. May I? Mara hesitated. The station doctors had scanned Lyra many times before. They had always reached the same conclusion. Too costly, too complex, not worth fixing. Still, something about this man felt different. She nodded once. The scanner hummed softly as he passed it over Lyra's body. Lyra stayed very still, her eyes fixed on the device as lights danced across its surface. The man's expression changed, not to sadness, to focus. This isn't what they told you, he said quietly. Mara's heart skipped. What do you mean? The damage isn't genetic, he explained. It's neurological. The signal from her brain isn't reaching her legs properly. Mara swallowed hard. They said it was permanent. They were wrong, he replied without hesitation. The words felt unreal. There's an old spinal interface, he continued. Human design. We used it on colony worlds where advanced facilities were rare. It won't make her perfect, but she could stand, walk with support, maybe more with time. Mara felt her arms tremble. We don't have credits, she said quickly. Not for real treatment. I didn't say it would cost you, the man replied. Before Mara could respond, alarms echoed through the docking ring. A security drone descended from above, its sensors locking onto them. Unauthorized medical scanning detected, the drone announced. Identify yourself. The man stood slowly, his movements calm and controlled. Captain Elias Ward, he said, Terran Defense Fleet, independent humanitarian clearance. The drone paused. Its systems whirred as it processed the information. Clearance verified, it said at last. Proceed. Mara stared at him. You're military, she said. Was, Elias replied. Now I help where I can. He turned back to her, his expression serious. The coalition ignores cases like yours because they see cost, not people, he said. Humans don't think that way. Mara looked down at Lyra. Hope was dangerous. She had buried it deep for years because hope made loss hurt more. What do you want from us? Mara asked quietly. Nothing, Elias said. Just the chance to change one life. Lyra's voice was small but steady. Mama, Mara met her daughter's eyes. For years, she had carried Lyra alone through a galaxy that refused to care. She had fought exhaustion, hunger, and quiet despair without ever letting her daughter see her break. Now, for the first time, someone had offered help without asking for anything in return. Mara took a deep breath. Okay, she said. Elias nodded. Far above Haven Station, beyond its cold metal walls, human fleets watched the galaxy with quiet patience. And though no one else knew it yet, the choice made in that forgotten docking ring was the first step toward a future the Coalition never expected. A future where humanity would remind the stars what compassion truly looked like. Elias did not take them far at first. He led Mara and Lyra through maintenance corridors that were cleaner than the lower rings, but still far from the polished halls used by Coalition officials. The walls here were marked with old Terran symbols and faded warning signs written in human languages. This part of the station had once been leased to human traders, long before politics had pushed them aside. Mara walked carefully, her eyes always moving. She trusted Elias more than most strangers, but trust did not erase years of survival instincts. Lyra rested quietly in her arms, watching everything with growing excitement. Where are we going? Mara asked. To my ship, Elias replied. It's small, but it has what we need. Ships cost money, Mara said. A lot of it. Elias smiled faintly. Not all of us work for profit. They reached an airlock marked as inactive. Elias placed his hand on a hidden panel and the lock opened with a soft hiss. Inside was a compact Terran shuttle, old but well-maintained. Its hull bore scratches and scorch marks, signs of long travel and hard use. Lyra's eyes widened. "It's beautiful." "It's stubborn," Elias said, "like its pilot." Inside the ship, the air was warmer, clean. The lights were gentle, not harsh like station lighting. Elias guided them to a padded seat and helped Mara lower Lyra carefully. Mara hesitated. Letting go was harder than she expected. Her arms felt strangely empty. Elias noticed. "You can stay close," he said. "I won't start anything without explaining." He activated the medical bay. Panels slid open, revealing equipment far beyond anything Mara had ever seen. The machines looked simple on the surface, but she could sense the power behind them. "This interface," Elias explained, pulling up a holographic display, "was designed for frontier worlds. No advanced hospitals, no specialist teams, just one trained human and a lot of patience." "Why isn't it used anymore?" Mara asked. "Politics," Elias answered honestly. "The Coalition prefers expensive solutions that only they control. Humans prefer tools that work anywhere." Lyra listened closely. "Will it hurt?" Elias crouched in front of her. "A little, but I'll be here the whole time." Mara reached for her daughter's hand. "I'll be here too." The procedure took hours. Elias worked slowly, carefully, explaining every step. Mara watched, tense and afraid, her heart pounding every time Lyra winced or gasped. But her daughter never cried. She clenched her teeth and held on. Finally, the interface was complete. Thin support braces rested along Lyra's spine, glowing softly. Elias stepped back. "That's all for today," Mara blinked. "That's it." "The body needs time," Elias said. "Rushing causes damage. Tomorrow we test response." Lyra was exhausted, but her eyes shone. "I felt something," she whispered, like warmth." Mara felt tears burn her eyes. They stayed on the ship that night. Elias prepared simple food, real food, not ration paste. Mara had almost forgotten what it tasted like. While Lyra slept, Elias and Mara spoke quietly. "Why are you really doing this?" Mara asked. Elias leaned back, staring at the ceiling. "Because once someone helped me when the galaxy told me I wasn't worth the cost." He did not explain further, and Mara did not press him. The next morning the alarms came. Coalition security surrounded the docking sector. Drones hovered outside the ship, their weapons active. A transmission cut through the air. "Captain Elias Ward," a cold voice announced. "You are ordered to surrender unauthorized medical equipment and return the dependent human for Coalition processing." Mara's blood ran cold. "Processing?" Elias' jaw tightened. "They'll take the interface. They'll mark Lyra as experimental property." Mara moved instantly, standing between Lyra and the door. "No," she said. "You won't touch her." Elias placed a hand on Mara's shoulder. "They don't understand what humans protect." He opened a channel. "This is a humanitarian operation," Elias said. "You have no jurisdiction." The Coalition commander laughed. "You are outnumbered, human." "Yes," Elias replied calmly, "but you're forgetting something." He activated a signal. Across the station, systems flickered. Screens lit up with Terran symbols. Docking clamps released. Defense grids shifted. A voice echoed through every channel, deep and steady. "This is the Terran Defense Fleet. We are observing." Silence followed. Mara stared in shock. "You called a fleet?" Elias shook his head. "No, they were already watching." The Coalition hesitated. They had underestimated one human helping a single mother. They had forgotten what humans did when compassion was threatened. Elias looked at Mara. "They'll back off for now, but this won't be the last time." Mara nodded. She had carried her daughter alone for years. Now humanity was carrying them both, and the galaxy had just noticed. The Coalition did back away, but they did not forget. In the days that followed, Haven Station felt different. Patrols increased. Drones hovered longer in the lower rings. Workers whispered instead of speaking openly. Everyone felt the tension, even if they did not know the reason. Inside Elia's ship, life moved forward quietly. Lyra woke each morning feeling something new. It was not strength yet, but awareness. Her legs no longer felt like distant objects attached to her body. She could feel pressure, warmth, even the cold metal floor when Elias lowered her feet to it for short tests. Mara watched every session with her heart in her throat. "Easy," Elias said gently as he adjusted the support frame around Lyra's legs. "Just focus on the signal. Don't force it." Lyra nodded, her face serious. She concentrated the way Elias had taught her. Not by thinking about moving her legs, but by imagining standing beside her mother, holding her hand, looking up instead of always looking from below. A small twitch ran through her right foot. Mara gasped and covered her mouth. "I saw that," Elias said, smiling. "Good." "Very good," Lyra laughed, a sound so bright it made Mara's chest ache. She had not heard that laugh in a long time. Progress was slow, but it was real. Each step forward brought fear as well. Mara worried constantly that the coalition would return, that they would take Lyra away. That hope would be ripped from them like everything else had been. Elias sensed it. "They won't rush in again," he said one evening. "Not yet." "Why?" Mara asked. "Because they don't understand humans," Elias replied. "And what they don't understand, they hesitate to touch." That night while Lyra slept, Elias accessed restricted channels. His expression hardened as he read incoming data. Human outposts were sending messages, reports, questions. The coalition had flagged Lyra's medical interface as unauthorized human technology. They were afraid. Fear made powerful beings dangerous. 2 days later, the test came. Mara was helping Lyra practice standing when the station lights flickered. A deep vibration passed through the walls. Elias was on his feet instantly. "That's not normal," he said. A coalition broadcast filled the air. "All non-essential personnel are ordered to remain in place. This station is under security inspection." Mara froze. "Inspection?" Elia's jaw tightened. "They're searching." Before Mara could respond, heavy footsteps echoed outside the ship. Shadows moved past the hull. Coalition troops, armored and armed, took positions around the docking area. A loud knock struck the ship's door. "Open immediately," a voice commanded. Lyra looked up at her mother, fear flashing across her face. Her legs shook within the support frame. Mara knelt and held her tightly. "No matter what happens," she whispered, "I am here." Elias moved to the door. He took a breath and opened it. The coalition commander stood outside, flanked by soldiers. His eyes were cold, his posture confident. "You were warned," the commander said. "The dependent human is now classified as a technological asset." "She is a child," Elias replied evenly. "She is an experiment," the commander corrected. "Hand her over." Mara stepped forward. "You will not take my daughter." The commander looked at her with open disdain. "You have no authority," Elias' voice sharpened. "She has something you lack." "And what is that?" the commander asked. "Human protection." Elias tapped a control on his wrist. The ship's interior screens lit up. Human ships appeared in holographic form, dozens of them, holding position just beyond the station's sensor range. A Terran fleet officer's voice filled the space. "This is Admiral Chen of the Terran Defense Fleet. We are monitoring this situation closely." The commander's confidence faltered for the first time. "This is coalition territory," he said. "And that is a human child," Admiral Chen replied. "We consider this a humanitarian matter." "You cannot interfere," the commander snapped. "We already are," Chen said calmly. Outside the ship, station systems began to shift. Doors locked, power rerouted. The coalition realized too late that human engineers had access they never bothered to remove. Mara watched, stunned. She had spent her life feeling small and powerless. Now the galaxy was bending around her daughter. The commander clenched his fists. "This is not over." "No," Elias said. "It's just beginning." The coalition troops withdrew, their formation tight but uneasy. When the ship was quiet again, Mara sank to the floor, shaking. Lyra reached out and touched her mother's face. "Mama," she said softly, "I'm standing." Mara looked down. Lyra was upright, supported by the frame, but upright. Her feet pressed against the floor. Her legs trembled, but they held. Mara laughed and cried at the same time. Elias knelt beside them. "This is why they're afraid," he said quietly. "Not because of the tech, because of what it means." "What does it mean?" Mara asked. "It means humans don't abandon their weakest," Elias replied. "And when we protect one, we protect them all." In the days that followed, word spread. Other humans came forward, dock workers, traders, engineers, veterans. They brought supplies, time, knowledge. Some were disabled. Some had children like Lyra. They had all been ignored. The coalition tried to silence it, but it was too late. Lyra took her first step a week later. It was small, shaky, but it was hers. Mara held her hands, tears streaming down her face. "I'm doing it," Lyra said, her voice full of wonder. "Yes," Mara whispered. "You are." Across Haven Station, cameras recorded the moment. Across human space, people watched. A mother who had carried her child alone. A child who refused to be left behind. And humans who reminded the galaxy that strength was not measured by perfection, but by how fiercely you stood for those who could not stand alone. The coalition had tried to take control of one life. Instead, they had awakened something far larger. And it was walking forward, one determined step at a time. Haven Station changed slowly at first, then all at once. After the confrontation, the coalition did not send soldiers again. Instead, they sent observers, inspectors, and long messages filled with careful words. They watched, they waited. They hoped the humans would make a mistake. The humans did not. Elias stayed. Other human ships rotated in quietly, never forming a threat, never raising weapons. They brought medical supplies, repair tools, and data. Everything was documented. Everything was open. That openness confused the coalition more than force ever could. Mara watched the changes from the ship's open ramp. Lyra stood beside her, not perfectly, not without effort. But she stood on her own legs, supported by the frame and thin braces that hummed softly against her spine. Each day she stood longer. Each day she needed her mother's arms a little less. Mara still stayed close. She always would. "Ready?" Mara asked gently. Lyra nodded. "I want to try again." They moved to the marked line on the floor. Elias watched from a short distance away, his arms folded, his face calm but proud. Lyra took a breath. She remembered the feeling Elias taught her, not pushing, not forcing, just listening. She lifted one foot. It wobbled. Mara held her breath but did not reach out. Lyra placed her foot down, then the other. She crossed the line. For a moment the world seemed to stop. Then Lyra laughed, loud and free, the sound echoing through the docking bay. Other humans nearby clapped softly. Some wiped their eyes. "I did it," Lyra said. "I really did it." Mara knelt and hugged her carefully, as if afraid the moment might break. "Yes," she whispered. "You did." Cameras recorded everything. Not because Elias wanted publicity, but because humans believed in witnesses. Truth mattered more when it was seen. The coalition saw it too. They saw a disabled child walk using human technology they had dismissed as outdated. They saw a mother who had been invisible now standing tall. They saw humans treating it not as a miracle, but as something normal. Expected that frightened them. A coalition council was called. Arguments filled the chamber. "This sets a dangerous example," one said. "It undermines efficiency standards," said another. "They will demand more," a third warned. "Yes," an elder finally replied. "They will." Days later, an official delegation arrived at Haven Station. Not soldiers, diplomats. They requested a meeting. Mara did not want to go at first. Large rooms and powerful beings still made her chest tighten, but Lyra squeezed her hand. "They should see us," Lyra said. "Not just hear about us." So they went. The council chamber was cold and wide. Coalition leaders sat high above, their forms rigid and controlled. Human representatives stood below, relaxed but alert. Elias stood beside Mara and Lyra, not as a shield but as support. The lead counselor spoke. "The human child has demonstrated unexpected improvement," he said. "Explain." Elias answered calmly. "There is nothing unexpected about care, time, and respect. The coalition cannot allow uncontrolled distribution of this technology," the counselor said. Mara's heart raced, but she stepped forward. "My daughter is not technology," she said. Her voice was steady. "She is a person." Silence filled the chamber. The counselor looked down at her. "Your emotional response is noted." Lyra spoke next. "I was carried my whole life," she said. "My mother never complained, she never left me. Humans didn't fix me because I was useful, they helped because I mattered." Her words were simple. They cut deeper than any argument. The council retreated to private discussion. When they returned, their tone had changed. "The coalition will recognize the humanitarian exception," the counselor announced. "Human medical teams may operate within controlled zones." It was not perfect, it was not generous, but it was a start. Outside the chamber, Elias exhaled slowly. "That," he said, "is the sound of a door opening." Life moved forward. Haven Station gained a small human clinic, then another. Coalition citizens began to visit quietly, curious. Some brought children. Some brought injuries they had hidden out of shame. Humans treated them all the same. Mara found work again. Real work. The clinic hired her as a logistics coordinator. She was organized, tireless, and fiercely protective of her people. The labor board no longer denied her. It did not dare. Lyra trained every day. Some days were hard. Some days she fell. Mara was always there, but she no longer had to lift her daughter from the floor. Lyra learned to rise on her own. One evening, as the station lights dimmed to night cycle, Mara and Lyra sat together near a viewport. Stars stretched endlessly beyond the glass. "Do you miss carrying me?" Lyra asked quietly. Mara smiled. "I miss holding you close all the time. But I like watching you walk beside me more." Lyra leaned against her mother's shoulder. "I'll still need you." "Always," Mara said. Elias stood a short distance away, preparing to leave. His mission here was ending. Others would continue the work. "You're going," Mara said when she noticed. "Yes," he replied. "There are more places like this." Lyra walked over to him, slow but confident. "You changed my life." Elias knelt. "No, you changed the galaxy's mind." He stood and offered Mara his hand. She shook it strong and steady. "Thank you," she said. "For trusting me," he replied. As Elias' ship departed, Haven Station watched in silence. Not fear, not suspicion. Respect. Far beyond the station, human networks shared the story, not as propaganda, not as triumph. As proof. Proof that humanity's strength was not in ships or weapons, but in what they refused to abandon. Proof that carrying the weak did not slow them down, it showed them the way forward. A mother who once walked alone now walked among many. A daughter who once could not stand now stepped into her future. And the galaxy, watching closely, began to understand a simple truth it had ignored for too long. When humans choose to care, destiny changes.